Hi, I'm Chris James, and you're watching A Healthy Alternative. Today, I have a guest from left field. I'm bringing on Melanie Day. She is actually my cousin, and she has been working on a brand that caters towards women with curly or textured hair. And I've been getting a lot of questions from you all about hair. And it probably started, a year or two ago when I started talking about why I had changed my hairstyle and, the importance of different products, making sure that you're not putting, detrimental products and things in your hair. So anyway, you all have been asking me for, a video and where we getting into hair and hair care and all that stuff. So I've got an expert, one of my cousins, my family. I'm happy to
Yes.
have her on the show, and we're going to get into all of that coming up next. So stay tuned.
We're missing a piece of the puzzle.
You start getting healthy and you just become a better person.
We need to start focusing more on the individual.
Okay, Melanie, so we've been talking about doing this interview for like three or
For a
four
while.
months.
Yes, for a while. I've been like blowing up your phone. I'm like, hey, like let's do an interview. Let's talk about this. And I finally got stuff together, so I'm happy to be here.
Yeah. I'm really excited to talk about all of the things that you're doing right now, especially with,
Mhm.
expanding your brand and your knowledge base and, all the services you have available. But to get started off, I want to take it back a little bit because I'm curious about learning like what was the premise for you, beginning this brand that caters towards women with like textured or curly hair. Like, why did you think that that was something that was important?
So, let me just start it this way. So, I've been behind the chair licensed for about 16 years, right? So when I was in beauty school, before I even started beauty school, my hair was chemical free. I had no relaxer in it, and I had like box braids or whatnot. But in order for me to comply and to get my 300 practical hours that we have to work on each other, my teacher's like, well, you need to take your braids out. And I'm like, no one's going to know how to do my hair because you all don't really teach that.
Mm,
So I took that as saying, I need to, if I want to be able to graduate and get through the program, should basically probably put a relaxer in my hair. So I was like
wow.
17 or 18 years old when I did this, right? And I remember going through my mind like, wow, like do I want to do this? Well, I kind of have to. And that was the beginning of it. I knew that I did not want to be the typical Black stylist and just only work on just one type of hair. Like our license covers everybody. It
Mm,
doesn't say anything about ethnicity, but it's everyone. And that's really how it started. Like this whole like for our generation, the natural hair movement was like in early 2000s, but like for our parents, it's always been there. But for our group, for
mm.
our age group, it was like late 90s, early 2000s, right? So nothing was really on the market, and things just kind of progressed, and here I am today. But that's honestly how it started.
Wow. And that's actually not a unique story. I've heard so many women talk about how for school, work, or otherwise,
Yep.
they've had to change their hair. And, you know, I think one of the biggest issues that I have with that is the fact that, okay, and we've heard this before, your hair grows out curly. That's how it grows.
Hmm.
Everybody else seems to be okay. Like if your hair is like has looser curls or whatever, it's okay for your natural hair to come out your head.
Hmm.
But if you have tight curls or textured, really, textured hair, it's like a problem in professional settings or for
It's
whatever.
power. It's power.
Yeah. So I'm glad that we're getting back to loving our hair and understanding it more. So did you?
Hmm.
So you ended up getting the relaxer.
Yeah, so I remember getting my hair done, and the stylist, she was like, are you sure you want to do this? I'm like, I don't really have a choice. And I really wish I had taken pictures of my hair because, I'm 17, 18. your body is completely different, then hormones are different. So my hair was obviously different too. It's like massive fro. I'm like, oh my goodness, if I could go back to that fro. And yeah, so I ended up going through with it. Then I grew it out again, and I haven't had my hair chemically relaxed since. Now I've had color, but I haven't had it chemically altered with a relaxer.
And what did the process of, so you had this, because I always remember you, we kind of grew up, together, we played, but I always
Yeah.
remembered you with your braids.
Yeah.
And what did it do to your hair when you got it relaxed? Like, what did you notice?
I mean, obviously, like I can't really remember a lot, but I mean, it does change the structure of your hair, obviously, because it's a chemical. Now what I do remember is like the growing out process that I
Mm,
could tell you about. That I had like these, big difference of textures for with my natural hair and then with the relaxed hair. Obviously, that's going to be really weak because the natural hair is a lot stronger. So I did experience breakage with that, but what helped me was that I actually did I grew out my relaxer with a sew-in. So I did weaves for like a couple years and braided my hair up, trimmed it every so often, and then braided it up again. So that's what helped me to kind of grow out. Um, but I think as long like relaxers get a bad rep, and even when you have natural hair, you still have breakage, you still have damage. I see it every single day. It's from not knowing how to properly take care of your hair and maintaining it. If you know how to take care of it and know what to do, regardless if you're relaxer or relaxer free, your hair can still flourish.
mhm. And where do you think that miseducation stems from? Like, because it seems to be a common issue that women or just people in general, they don't know how to take care of their hair. So where do you think that miseducation comes from?
I think it's from, that's a really good question. I think a lot of it could come from maybe we didn't get all the information we needed when we were growing up, or maybe like from school or products, different whatever our situation was growing up. Because I see that a lot at work. Clients will come in and they'll tell me, yeah, my mom or my sisters, my granny or my auntie, whoever, they taught me how to do my hair, or vice versa. They like no one really knew how to do my hair when I was
Mhm.
growing up. So I've always struggled with it. And here I am today. And I still struggle with it. And I have a daughter, and I don't want her to feel some type of way about her hair. So
Mhm.
that's why she's here, and I want to help teach her. So I think it starts at an early age.
Yeah, I agree. I think that, we as parents, we drop the ball with our children because we don't know, and sometimes we don't even know what we don't know,
Mm,
and then also there's like the different industries. The health and beauty industry is putting a lot of false information out there, or information that is catering to one particular
mm-hmm,
group of people and doesn't include the rest of us. And
mm-hmm,
because of these different processes, and then just like being forced to change your hair, and not society not accepting your hair, it seems to just be a big problem that has
mm-hmm,
different layers, right? That
mm-hmm.
we have to kind of unpack. So the education at an early age is something that I would say is definitely important. So what is it now that that you are doing? Well, first, before we get into that, can you outline some of the issues that people are having with their hair? Like you said, proper
Yeah,
education is kind of the key. What are we doing wrong?
yeah. So I think the other thing is and I'll say this, as a hairdresser and as a black stylist, we need to take our industry back. And because like for the longest, like we've gotten a bad rep for not being professional, for not being this, for being that. And
Hmm.
so a lot of black women have been like, you know what, I'm not going to the shop anymore. I can do my own hair. Why pay all this money when I can go onto YouTube and find all this information? You all aren't treating me right. You're not respecting my time. So I'm just going to do this.
Mm.
And the industry has suffered because of some stylists' inability to be professional, to respect the client, to respect their time, to treat it as a profession, not a hustle.
Mm.
And people realize that. And so now we're seeing with YouTube all of this, tons of videos on hair. And as stylists, we're like, well, wait a minute, hey, we're right here. You all can come back. And people are like, no, we're good. I'm gonna follow such and such here because she knows, and I love the following. So for me, that is what I wanted to do, was to take the industry back in the sense of, hey, we went to school, we're trained for different things. We're not just saying stuff because a company has given us free products, or because
Right.
I had this great experience with my hair, but it's definitely art, it's definitely science, and
Mm.
there's a lot that goes with it. And I want to say this too, that you touched on different types of discrimination with the hair. There's currently a bill that's being passed. It's called the Crown Act. It's going around nationally. I can't remember which state it started. It might have been California. Everything starts in California. But it's basically going to cover, not being discriminated against based on your hair for Black women and for Black men and for kids, because
Mm.
we're seeing that even in schools in Louisville. A few years ago, they had an issue with one of the schools there with their dress code, and it was particularly towards basically Black kids and how they wore their hair. So that's the Crown Act that's being passed. But also another thing would be education in cosmetology schools. And what we're
Mm.
seeing is that's really where it starts. You asked me, that's really where it starts. If salon professionals aren't getting trained from day one in beauty schools, when they go out into the real world, they're going to be terrified or not really sure of how to work with everyone. And
Mm.
then they'll say, you know what, I'm not really comfortable, and then they'll just not do it. So we live in a society where everybody is everything, you know, it's everyone is coming from different backgrounds and hair, and you see it with hair. So everyone, you gotta get with it. You have
So,
to.
so society needs to adapt to the fact that we're all unique and not cater to just one hairstyle or one type of hairstyle that they consider the majority. But
Yeah,
we need to really be teaching, how do we take care of everyone's hair, because that it's a trickle down effect.
yeah,
That
yeah.
makes a lot of sense. When I've talked to girls who like have done modeling or just are in that industry, and they
Oh,
all
that's yeah,
right, they always talk about how the stylists, they don't know how to do their hair.
yeah,
And I have felt like part of the reason why um, women with curly hair, mainly Black women, it seems like they moved more towards doing sew-ins and wigs, is because like people don't know how to do their hair, and maybe they don't know how to do their hair, and it's
yes,
easier to do
yes,
a sew-in or a wig or whatever the case
yes.
may be.
You
um
hit the nail on the head, and I think that's where the power comes back. That's where the power lies, when you teach a person how to do things for themselves.
mm,
Then they're not no longer relying on everyone else. And I think that's such a powerful statement, because so many women have spent years in the chair. They don't know what type of product, what type of comb. I don't like, yeah, I just tell her to do whatever. I don't really know what she does. And
mm,
then when they come see me and I ask questions, I don't know. I trust her. She just does whatever. And I want women to know, like, hey, we're in this together. I want you to know what I'm using, how to use the product, because in light of what we've seen in the last 8 months or so, we've had to become more dependent on ourselves because of not being able to go to certain places. And if you're
mm,
relying heavily on other people, then you'll see you may not be able to do certain things.
right. So we really have to take ownership, and this is why I felt like this would be a great topic for the show,
Mhm.
because what we teach on the healthy alternative is taking back your power. Instead of
Mhm.
relying on a healthcare professional to treat you, you need to learn, how to take care of yourself. So along
Mhm.
with, dealing with a hairstylist or something like that, there's some level of education that really should be involved, because we are so unknowledgeable about how to take care of our hair. And I feel like
Mhm.
that doesn't happen. I mean, I've been before my hair was long, I would get it cut, right? And
Mhm.
that's a whole different process. We weren't talking about trimming edges and health of the hair. We would put Dax wax on our head so we could lock our waves in. Like, we were doing anything. But then
Uh-huh.
when I started dealing with, hairstylists, not barbers, it was a whole different vibe. But I didn't feel like educated. I felt like I had to ask. I felt like the person who was taking care of my hair didn't care about my hair. They didn't care, like, the energy around. So I had to find friends who did hair,
Mhm.
who would kind of respect me a little bit.
Mhm. Mhm.
And like, it's very, very off-putting, having to deal with that. And so I agree with everything that you're saying. We need education, and we need people who
Mhm.
care about what they're doing.
Yep. And that's what I was saying earlier, taking the industry back.
Mm.
That's why we've gotten a bad rep for so long because of that. And now I think stylists are recognizing, like, wait a minute, no, that's not how it should be, because clients are now taking things in their own hands, and like, hey, like, well, if you're not going to treat me the way that you should, I'm just going to go somewhere else and do something different.
Let me ask you about, like sew-ins or weaves,
Hmm.
in general. I listen. I'm not a woman. I only know a little bit of what I hear, so you help me out. But I hear that, um, by getting your hair done a certain way, there's all these different things people do, glue, and I don't know, just all these things they
Hmm.
do to their hair. It damages their edges. It damages their hair. What are your thoughts, or what have you found to be the case, as far as, like, different things you do to your hair? Like, is putting a weave in your hair damaging? Is it about the application? Like, talk to me about that.
Yeah, so I think that's a great one, because especially, we're in the season of the air is getting drier. A lot of Black women want to do protective styling, and kind of put your hair up for the season and let it kind of rest. So a lot of us are doing braids, lace fronts, doing 360s, weaves, all different types of things. So I think, depending on the method, depending on your scalp, because for some people, if you have a severe scalp issue, like if you have seborrheic dermatitis, if you have psoriasis, if you have atopic dermatitis, there's just certain things that you should not do, because your scalp cannot handle it.
Mm,
Your scalp needs to breathe.
mm,
Or if you have if you're really sensitive to you know, to um to chemicals and to hair and things like that, if you're getting extensions, well, more than likely it's highly treated with chemicals, and you're going to
mm.
have some type of reaction, which I've had reactions to in the past, and you itch for like a solid week, and you can't take your insole out because you just spent good money on it. So you're going to suffer through, and you want to get your rat tail comb and kind of go through and tap
Right,
tap tap tap, all of that.
right.
But I think it depends on your stylist.
Mm,
You want to find someone who really educates themselves, not someone who's getting a degree in YouTubeology
mm,
and, free videos, like, oh yeah, I can do that. No. You want someone who spends good money on their craft, and who spends good money on themselves, who invests heavily in themselves, and who values you.
mm,
And I would say to the consumer, do your homework on the stylist that you're going to go to. Ask questions. If you feel a certain way, you know what, that's okay. If ask if they have a referral. Like for me, for me personally, I don't really do a lot of sew-ins, but I can refer you to other stylists that, you know, that can do a great job. But I'll say with wigs and with braids and with different types of applications, you can have too much of a good thing.
Mm.
It just depends on where you are in that certain stage and what you're trying to do. Say for instance, a lot of people are doing like lace fronts and glue and things like that.
Right.
Originally, that was meant for people who don't really have a hairline.
Mm.
I've actually met people who shave their hairline off because you can't have hair.
Right.
You know, like they'll actually shave their hairline off so they can adhere the glue.
Wow.
No, that means so lace fronts it was medical purpose first
Ah,
and for Hollywood, right?
wow.
Medical purpose first and for Hollywood, and then it came onto the scene for everyday people.
Wow.
But we're misusing it, and then we're causing other problems because of not knowing how to use it or what it was originally meant for.
Makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense. So basically what I'm hearing is it's not as cut and dry as one might think. It's really a conversation that you need to have with your stylist. It's really something that you kind of have to get more knowledge about. Like you have to
Yeah.
learn about your scalp, learn about your hair,
Yeah.
and you know what I mean? Do some research, like put some time and effort and energy into this thing.
Mhm. Mhm.
Okay. So let's talk about like an alternative, right? So it's
Mhm.
getting cold out and you know you want to protect your hair or whatever. What's a
Mhm.
style or what is maybe a procedure or something you could do to give you that protection without necessarily using like wigs or just, you know, lace fronts or whatever?
So, I mean, I like wigs, and I think it just depends on how you use it. And there's different ways that you can put a wig on.
Hmm.
A lot of times, like if you're using like a lace front, that's more of like it's not like a daily wear. You know, it's not like something you can take on and take off.
Right.
A lace front is more like, you know, I'm gonna keep it on for a few weeks, a week or something like that, and wear it every day, and it's not coming off. Um, I personally like crochet braids and crochet styles because you can actually get to your scalp,
Hmm.
and your scalp can breathe. I was actually in a conference with a few Black dermatologists, and they're actually researchers too, and they were sharing their top styles for Black women that have scalp conditions and that are trying to you know, have the goal of healthy hair and scalp. And basically, what they're saying is don't use a lot of styles that are putting a lot of tension on your scalp. You know, look for things that you can leave in for like maybe a few weeks or a week or so and then take out. Um, and I think we've been, for me, I remember it's like, you know, I want to keep this in for, I don't know, 4 weeks, and I want this to last, and I'm going to do everything I can to make it last. And you know, I'm not gonna, I don't want to get it wet because I don't want my braids to fuzz up. You know, like we've all been there. But when we take our hair down, what usually happens, like our scalp's inflamed because we've got so much buildup. We haven't been treating our scalp properly while we've had our style in.
Mm.
Um, so I think we have to kind of change our mindset and think about how can I take care of my hair underneath? And I like to equate our scalp to the soil and the hair to leaves on a tree, right?
Right.
So if you have a good foundation, then your hair will flourish, but that also comes from the inside too.
100%. Well, you know, I'm on both.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think I'm actually so far to the left on that where it's like I almost will neglect my actual hair and I'm just working on all the internal stuff. So I think balance is key in everything
Mhm.
we do, you know, so that I'm learning that, you know, as I go along.
Mhm.
But I agree with your points that, um, we have, it's like the psychology, we have to change how we kind of perceive things and what's important to us, because I feel like we've been manipulated. Like, you gotta have the tightest braids, like everything has to be perfect.
Right. And let me say this too, is that pretty should not hurt. And
Right.
what I mean by that is that you should not be taking an Excedrin or a Tylenol before or after you get your hair done.
Right.
And if you have to, then you need to go to another braider. You need to go to another stylist, another loctician, whatever, because you are not going to have hair later on.
Right.
Because what that's causing would eventually be traction alopecia, where it's basically pulling hair out, and it's going to get to a point to where the follicle will be damaged and nothing's going to grow. And I have this story for myself where I went and got my hair braided, and she did yarn locks on me. I don't know, like, if you know what, yeah, it's yarn locks, but like she plaited my hair, then she took yarn, and the more she wound the hair around, like the tighter it got. And so I had to hold the root, so like the tension wasn't so bad. Chris, when I got home, I felt like I had like this facelift, because like I looked surprised the entire time. Like I couldn't pull my hair back up. I couldn't like take a shower because it was just, I couldn't lift my hair up. It was horrible. Like the pain was just so bad. I felt sick.
Wow.
It was that tight. So if your hair is ever that tight, and if you have a braider that just wants to get every nap, every edge, don't let them, because you won't have a hairline. I promise you. You won't have a hairline.
Me and my friend were just talking about that last
You will
night.
not have a
They
hairline.
be trying to snatch every little, because like my hair now, when I got my hair coiled or whatever, I'm touching it right now. Like there's so much hair, you probably could put in another coil, but it's like, no, leave it alone. Like it's fine. You know what I mean? Like everything doesn't have to be all tight and crispy and uncomfortable. Because so with me having this hair journey for myself, I've learned that, certain styles, if they're too tight, it makes you itch. Like it makes you itch at least.
And you get bumps. You actually break out. Like you'll get bumps. Yeah.
I get bumps. Yep. And so, look, I just want to be pleased with how my hair looks. I don't got to be the tightest curly. Ain't got to be all whatever. So I got a style with my locks where they braid them or whatever. And it made me itchy. And I left it in for, maybe a week or so. I can't remember. But eventually I was like, look, I can't do this. I don't care if I paid that money. It's not worth itching every day, constantly trying to get in there. And I took it out. And my mindset is I'd be willing to try it again, but I would need that person to do it looser. Like we need to change it, because I'm not going to deal with that. So it's kind of like taking a stand and saying that your health, the health of your hair and scalp, is more important than the look.
Yes. And I love that you said that, because I feel like we're kind of getting there, slowly but surely. We're getting to that mindset of I want to look good, but at the same time, I don't want to sacrifice the health of my hair and whatever else because of this style that I have, and not realizing the long-term effects of it. Because by the time you go see a dermatologist, they'll say, wow, like you actually waited too long to see me. If you had come in maybe like a little bit sooner, we could have done something, or we could have caught this before it actually progressed to something worse.
Yeah. And that's the thing. It's the lack of education and understanding. We don't know the type of damage we're doing. It looks good today, but 10 years from now, you're not going to have any hair, or you're going to be dealing with some type of scalp issue, and it's not worth it to have a style today. One of the things, and this may be controversial, I don't know, but one of the things
we'll see
is that hair is not just for aesthetics. There is a purpose for the hair. It has a job, And I think that we are completely oblivious to the fact that your hair means something bigger than just, oh girl, that looks good. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like it has a purpose and a job. And
Mm-hmm.
so I think that we should focus more on that, or if nothing else, creating the balance between the aesthetics and the actual purpose. Like I think,
Mm-hmm.
growing your natural hair and having your hair be as healthy as possible should be the priority. I understand some people want to wear like the low cuts and stuff like that, and that's everyone's prerogative. But if I feel like this from a guy's point of view, if I'm talking to a woman or whatever, or interacting with a woman and I never see her real hair, I'm gonna be like, what is going on? Like
Mm-hmm.
I never, they'd be like, oh, I'm keeping it protected. But from what? And when are you ever going to like let us see it? Like when are we actually going to see your hair? It's like it's constant.
So let me speak on that, because for women, I think there's a lot of different reasons why we do what we do, right? For some of us, it is because it's more convenient. I don't want to mess with my hair. I have a very busy lifestyle. I've got kids, family, work, whatever. And I have to look a certain way all the time. There's that. Then you also have the health side of things, where you may have someone who has really bad rheumatoid arthritis, right, in their hands. They have a lot of hair, but they can't do their hair. And
Mhm.
so the easiest thing for them would be to wear a wig, right? Or on the other end of the spectrum, you have someone who is struggling and suffering with a form of alopecia, and it's so debilitating emotionally,
Mhm.
right? That this is what I have to wear on a regular basis. So they would love to have their natural hair out, but because of how severe their hair loss might be, this is the only option for them, right? For the moment.
Right. Which those all make sense, but I guess they don't often explain that, because I've almost never heard that type of response. It's always, just, oh, just it's protective style. Oh, I just like it like this. Some women be like, oh yeah, it's easier to manage. Like I don't. That's probably the most prevalent one. Like, oh,
Hmm.
it's just easier to manage. But does the upkeep, like with you maintaining that type of style or whatever, the tension that's on the hair, all the things that we've talked about, does that then turn into some of these diseases, alopecia, or some of the scalp diseases?
Right. So there's at least six different types of alopecias, right? So alopecia is just like the generic form or generic word for hair loss, but there's
Mhm.
different types. There are some that are like, say, for instance, we talked about traction alopecia, which is brought on by like tension and pulling and tight styles, right? That's kind of preventative. But then if you go on the other end of the spectrum, you talk about alopecia that's more health induced. So that's like from lupus, or that's
Mhm.
from thyroid, or from cancer, or any other type of health related hair loss. That if say for instance a woman who has lupus, and that lupus runs pretty prevalent in with Black men and women, and also Hispanic communities as well, in Asians. We have the highest rates. Black people have the higher rate of lupus. But depending on the type of lupus that you have, it causes a certain type of scarring alopecia,
Mhm.
where your skin gets scarred, where the hair just stops growing, where nothing grows out of it anymore.
Right.
So uh, most of the time, women who have that type of hair loss will be wearing a medical wig of some sort, or some type of style that, if they still have quite a bit of hair to where they can camouflage,
Right.
a style that won't irritate their scalp.
Mm.
And most of the time, in those situations, they're working with a dermatologist, because they more than likely have to get um, uh, um, cortisone injections and things in their scalp, and different things to treat the inflammation with their lupus that's affecting their scalp. Then they'll be told, like, hey, this is what you need to do so that your scalp won't be inflamed with this type of alopecia that you're experiencing.
Gotcha. So it sounds like what we really need to do, especially as men, is have conversations versus like judging or jumping to snap
Oh, yes.
judgments, you know,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I think that it's such a sensitive topic, though.
Very,
Women
very
are going
sensitive.
to be very closed or have a guard up about wanting to talk about it. So it's like we really need to shift the narrative on the topic of hair because it's such an issue. And you
Mhm.
know, when it comes to the health side of things, obviously that's more where what I do kind of comes into
Mhm.
play. We've seen, so my mom, she had, I don't know if you were aware of this, but at some point she had like a patch, a bald patch.
Mhm.
Did you hear about that?
Mm-mm.
Well, first her hair had turned like like
Mhm.
white, not gray, not
Mhm.
white.
Almost like a birth patch white. You see people with birth patches that are
Yeah,
white.
yeah, almost
Uh-huh.
almost like a birth patch white. I mean, there was a little black hair still, but it was turning white. And
Wow.
then she had one area, it was a patch. It was just gone. And
Mhm.
that was around the time when Steve, well, John and I we went to Cincinnati and we were talking to the family about fasting
Mhm.
and whatever.
I remember, yeah.
Yeah. So I told my mom, I'm like, look, I said, this is not natural. You're not that old to be having your hair falling out and for it to be turning white like this. I was like, this is your health. And so, we threw a lot of her stuff out of her cabinet. Long story short, over this period of 3 months or whatever, we were able to rectify that issue and her hair started growing back and it started turning back black.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so you might want to talk to her about it,
Yeah.
but she
Yeah.
she did something that is commonly, and you correct me if I'm wrong, it's commonly thought to be impossible, right?
Mhm.
When you have those patches, bald patches and stuff, I mean, do people tend to grow that back? And do you see people go from
Yeah.
gray to white or black?
Um, that not so much, but the patch, yes.
Okay.
And so that, was it slick? Was the patch slick?
I don't know. I didn't inspect it.
Oh,
Might have
okay.
to talk
Well,
to.
I'm just saying because if it were, more than likely it was a type of hair loss called alopecia areata, and it's normally like a coin size. They come in different sizes,
Uh-huh.
but for some people, it more than likely it is an autoimmune thing. It's triggered by autoimmune or stress triggers it.
Mhm.
And I've seen it quite a bit with clients. They'll have a section back here. And it might just be like a tiny, like a pinhead, and I'll see it, and I'll say, well, um, not to alarm you or anything like this, but I do notice like the spot back here. You didn't have an injury of any sort or anything. No, I didn't have an injury. Okay, well, because I can't diagnose, but I can say it appears to be. Go to your dermatologist just to verify. But most of the time, if whatever deficiency in the body or whatever type of issue that's causing it or that's trying to start is taken care of, then most of the time it comes back.
Okay.
But for some people it could be like a regular thing that happens every so often in a certain season of their life.
Right. So, I mean, well, then that just kind of gives a little hope, right? Like, just
Yeah.
because you're dealing with some type of spot or whatever, it doesn't mean
Yeah.
all is lost. Uh,
No. Mm-mm. Mm-mm. And
okay.
that's why I say, like, when the earlier you check on something, most of the time it's the better, because you have time on your side.
Right.
But when you let things go for too long, we just don't know like how long things have been. And that really makes a difference. And that's why I feel like for me as a stylist, that I'm more than just a stylist, because for a lot of people I might be the only person that they talk to. I
Mm,
might be the only like semi-professional that will inspect or ask certain questions, and might find like, hey, I've actually had dermatologists contact me and say, this is the summertime. We know that a lot of women are getting their hair done, And these are some things that we just kind of want you to look out for as far as different type of skin cancers, because skin cancers happen on the scalp, but most of the time people aren't checking on their scalps like we
Right.
are, because we can actually see. So
Hmm.
it's really important to have those conversations, because we're kind of like the pulse of our community. Like, hey, I noticed like your hair is shedding more than normal. Has this been going on, or have you changed medication?
Mm.
um like, for instance, like high blood pressure medicine, and also if you happen to be diabetic, those, we all know, like they cause, well, especially with diabetes, is inflammation issues everywhere, right? So it affects your metabolic, it affects your system and how your hair is working and the cycles and all of that. So definitely seeing the side effects of diabetes, and also with hair.
That makes a lot of sense. That's very, I
Hmm.
love that perspective,
Hmm.
you know, because even just for me, obviously, like I said, I'm new to like getting my hair done by a stylist,
Hmm.
but that really takes the responsibility, but the impact that a stylist can have on your life to another level.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And that's what I was saying, especially like within the Black community, because I mean, even with barbers, Black barbers are kind of the same, because it's like, guys are different, but it's like you may not open up about certain things, but you feel comfortable in this surrounding, because you're around people that and like people that look like you or whatnot. And it's like, hey, well, we're having this conversation about this. Well, maybe I should get that checked out. Or I know, like for myself with clients at work, I've actually referred them to different specialists that I know, if it's like mental health expert, if it's a dermatologist, if it's a holistic practitioner, whatever, that's out of my realm.
Right.
That's why I like to have a network of professionals that I work with, because it's more than just one thing. It might be a multidisciplinary thing that gets them where they need to be.
True. Very, very true. I agree
Hmm.
100%. And
Hmm.
on that subject, you've developed an academy, or
Yeah.
what exactly are you offering? Because I mean, you've opened my eyes, and I knew you would, having this conversation. But what are some of the resources that you're offering to help people on their hair journeys?
Yeah, so what I've developed, and it's kind of been a labor of love, but what I've developed is called In Living Curls Hair Care Academy. And basically, what it is, it's a platform for women of color that are experiencing hair loss, but also at the same time trying to figure out and manage their hair at the same time, because that's both very overwhelming.
Mm.
I'm experiencing like this emotional trauma of losing my hair, or my hair thinning, or just not behaving the same way. And then I got to go out here and go to work and go to school and be badgered by people and like, oh, you switched your hair up, or your hair is different. I mean, that's enough on a
Mm.
good day. So I developed this program because there's still so much misinformation out there, and women are just looking everywhere and not really finding the resources that they need. And my goal is to create a community, like a really like, sisterhood, caring community, where women can get support, they can get answers, they can have accountability partners, because I think that always makes things nice when you have someone that's kind of like can cheer you on in the process. But the thing is that like I was kind of alluded to this earlier, we spend so much time going through like social media feeds and all of this, and that's tiring. It's almost like a full-time job looking for answers,
Right.
and I mean, but at the same time, it's saved a lot of people, because they found answers that needed at that particular time. But my point is that if I can make that easier for you,
Right.
if I can be a one-stop shop and bring those resources factual,
Hmm.
not just any information, but factual information and experts under one umbrella to help you reach your goal. And that's what I'm here for. So I have lined up dermatologists, I have holistic practitioners. There is, mental health experts that I'm working with. There's clinical nutritionists that will be interviewing tomorrow. So because everything goes hand in hand, and everyone's goal might be different. They may not be ready to work on the hair side of things, but the nutrition part, hey, like I kind of want to tweak my diet, but if I tweak my diet, wow, my hair changed. Or, there's this medication that I'm on and I didn't realize that the side effect was this.
Right.
How can I either get myself off that medication, or how can I lower the dosage if I absolutely have to be on that medication? It's kind of where I'm at with it.
Nice.
Yeah. So I've developed that, but for right now, I'm doing like a 7-day love your hair challenge, hence the shirt, love your hair, love yourself. So this is going to be like on the Facebook group. And each day I have like a different daily challenge task that you will kind of see. Nothing hard, nothing, anything that you really have to stress about, because it's just 7 days, but it just kind of gets you thinking about certain stuff.
Right.
And this kind of seeing like, how can I do things a little bit differently? And this is a fledgling group. So we're starting, we're starting and growing. So you get to be a part of something that is going to impact a lot of people, and how you can share what you learn with other women in your friends and family group too.
And one of the benefits that I can attest to, because a healthy alternative used to be a little embryo, you get to
Yeah.
talk to, some of the people who are founders or creators of these things on a more intimate basis, because it's a small
Yeah.
group size. So you get a little bit more intimate interaction. And then as the group grows, you kind of become, one of those individuals who has some of the information. You could pass that information on from the experience you've had. It's a really, really beautiful process growing those groups. Small groups are amazing.
Yeah. I'm really excited. Like I mean, I love what you've done with the healthy alternative, just like over the years. I just remember the initial conversation that we had, and just the questions, and just like, if I did this, what would this be like? And it's great what you've done in these last few years, and the impact that you've had on people. That's phenomenal. And one thing I appreciate about our family is that we come from a family of people that care about one another, and want to give back and help, in different ways that we can. And we all have different gifts, I think, that we're using to help, to help in that way. We kind of found our own voice and own lane to help that. But as a collective, like our grandmother, like I love this, like she has a plaque or like a thing at her house, and it's like it's a tree, and it's like a family. It's like it's a branch. We all go in different directions, but our roots are all the same. And I'm like, I love that,
Yeah.
because we're the same family tree, but our roots are still the same. So that's the cool thing about that. But anyway, this is, I'm not wanting it to be huge. Wanting it to be very intimate, because especially with hair loss, and for some people who are just very shy by nature,
Right.
and not really wanting to share their experience, and go on there and post pictures, or do this or this or that. I'm wanting it to be where everyone feels comfortable, to where they can share if they want to. You don't have to, but if you want to, you can. And you have access, like you said, you have access to me, and other people that will kind of be guest experts or guest panelists or what have you.
Right. And I would encourage people to step outside their comfort zone. I'm confident that Melanie is going to create a space that's, comfortable and safe for everybody, but stepping outside of your comfort zone. So if you're shy about sharing that sort of thing, because a lot of the benefits going to come from sharing your story and you don't know how what you have experienced or what you will experience will help someone else. So
Yeah.
just starting the process of getting your mind in a place where you feel comfortable sharing. And I think a lot of growth will happen. Like, I get so much benefit from the people in a healthy alternative group sharing their story, either with me personally or with the group as a whole. Like, we actually, so Steve just sent me a picture of his feet,
Uh-huh.
right? It's weird. Like, what? Okay, what's
Did
this?
he do like the foot detox thing? Because I've done one of those.
He no, he just went to the like one of the
Oh,
nail
he got a pedicure.
right,
Okay.
he got a pedicure, right?
Oh, okay. Yeah, I
He
need to get one.
so he shows me this picture of his feet, and
Uh,
his feet look so healthy, so amazing. But what
wow.
you don't know is Steve used to have this terrible foot fungus, like
Athlete's foot.
toenail fungus.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, it wasn't. I don't think it was athlete's feet. It was just like this nail fungus. He's had it since he was a child. You probably would have never seen it. He was
Mm-mm.
very uncomfortable about showing people his feet, so he would,
Mm-hmm.
traditionally wear socks. He would wear, around us we would see it, but no one else really saw it. He was very uncomfortable about wearing flip flops. You know what I mean? That sort of
Mm-hmm.
thing. And today to see it come full circle, that his feet look amazing, right? They look completely healthy.
Wow.
And there's another guy on our group who has the same issue. Now, had he not been bold enough to show and share the fact that he had the same issue, today, when Steve showed me his feet, I wouldn't have thought, hey, I should definitely tell that guy that he needs to come and join our coaching program because we can help him with that exact problem, right?
Mm-hmm.
It was because he was so bold to put himself out there and share with the group. One of the things that probably he's really insecure about. And now I was able to see it, and now I can say, okay, I need to make sure to reach out to that guy so we can help him.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
I think that's the thing. That's like people have to see because we're visual creatures, right? And we get inspired seeing other people's stories, and like we're not the only person in the room that it's no man's an island.
Right.
We're all experiencing, it might be a little different, but we're all experiencing similar situations because we're all part of the human family. So we're all we're gonna have a lot of the same things going on in our lives.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah. I mean, that's just a
That's
simple
really good.
example, but you just got to be open. You got to be
Yep.
open and do your best not to be afraid, and put the energy out there that you're looking for a solution, and then be willing to accept it when it comes, because sometimes it doesn't come in the form that we expected.
Right.
I wanted to ask you, were there any other topics or anything that you wanted to kind of touch on before we wrap up?
Let's see. Any other type of topics I wanted to touch on before we wrap up? I think that was it. Oh, for those who join the 7-day Love Your Hair Challenge, you also will be eligible for my free download, like hair loss guide. And you can go to my website. It's inlivingcurls.com. And there's on the main page, you'll see the tab of where you can download that for the information. But as far as the Facebook challenge, it is on the website. Like I'll give Chris the information so you can go to my Facebook page and then the group, because right now I have it marked private since I was still working on it. But
Right.
I'll give you that info. And and as far as the actual In Living Curls Academy, how I have that worked out is mainly it's I only open so often so I can have not like a boatload of people, but I like to keep it tight. So I would like to reopen. The next one will be like in January. So that will give people a chance to kind of hear about it, think about it, and then be really excited for 21 and have all these different goals. But in the meantime, you can still be a part of like the free Facebook group. and kind of take advantage of the conversations and just kind of things that are there. And I also have one-on-one coaching where it's more like a 90-day thing, 90-day hair challenge. So you get to basically let me know what your goals are for the next 90 days with your hair. Then we can kind of work on that, come up with a custom plan basically just for you. You have access to me either virtually or in person, depending on where you're located. So essentially it's cheaper than going to the salon, and like for one visit, it's what breaks down to being cheaper for
Right.
that. But anyway, so yeah, so that's pretty much it is
Where are you
that, but I'm in Kentucky, so I'm in Lexington. So yeah, so I'm
So
in
anybody in the
Kentucky.
Lexington, Kentucky area, you
Yeah,
can.
if you're all in the tri-state areas. So I've actually, the furthest I've had someone visit me is probably been tri-state. Yeah, she was like Columbus, pretty much close to
Oh
Columbus.
wow.
Yeah, yeah. So people travel,
For
you
their hair,
find somebody
yes,
that,
it will.
yes, you find someone that you click with, and like, shoot, yeah, tickets are cheap right now, or I can drive, or I've got family in this area. Yeah, I'll stay with them or get a hotel or whatever, camp out in my car. I got a camper,
Uh-huh.
whatever.
Yeah, I know one of our members, Cheryl, she actually travels to Atlanta. Well, she's there's this girl who does her locks, and she,
Oh, her locks are gotten long.
yeah, they're really,
Yeah.
yeah. But she did a little video, and I guess she used to go to New York to get her hair, because I think she only gets it retwisted like once or twice a year, but she flies
Okay.
out to New York, and now she flies to Atlanta. So, and look,
Okay.
if I'm gonna be honest, the hairstylists that I deal with, the mass majority of them are so bad. I would travel too, and that's where we're at right now. It's like,
See, that is why I said what I said earlier. We have to take our industry back
yeah,
because we've gotten such a bad rep with how we deal with people. Oh my goodness.
yeah,
We got to do better.
that's serious. But yeah, so I appreciate you coming on. I really appreciate your
Yes, thanks for having me.
information. We are going to have all the links and all your information in the description box. So for those who are interested in taking the challenge and the academy and the Facebook group, that'll all be in the description box. I've learned a lot. You've given me some perspective, which I love. And I love that you are pretty much doing what I'm doing, for like the general health and wellness. You're doing it specifically for like hair with the mental and the
Yeah.
dermatology, like that collaborative effort. Like that's dope.
It's all
So,
connected. Yeah, it's I'm telling you, Chris, it's all connected. And the blood is the light, is the lifeline.
yeah.
And especially when it comes to hair. And I think it's so amazing because what is it, like every 90 days, there's like our blood supply is different, our cells are different, everything's been rejuvenated. And when it comes to the hair, you actually have forensic scientists that study it, say like on a trial or autopsies and things like that. And they'll look at a strand of hair. And because the hair goes through a process of keratinization, which is where whatever is in your body becomes permanent and becomes permanent in your hair.
Ah,
Once it's keratinized, you can't change that. Hence why a lot of companies do drug tests on your hair instead
right.
of doing a urine sample, right? So there's so much that you can tell as far as deficiencies, as
Mm,
far as just everything. And one last note that I want to say is that because our hair is not really considered a vital organ, it's not like a heavyweight like the liver, the kidneys, the heart, the brain. It doesn't get all of the water that it should,
mm,
right? And for Black people, for Black folks, we've kind of been taught, like water is bad for your hair. You shouldn't shampoo it that often. You shouldn't do this. You shouldn't do that. That's not true. Water is the best moisturizer you can have.
Mhm.
You know, if your hair feels dry, well, think about, when was the last time I actually shampooed my hair? When was the last time I actually did something to my scalp? Was it over a month ago? Well, more than likely, you know, you've got a lot of buildup and your hair is dry, but a minimum of once a week to cleanse your hair and scalp, minimum.
Mm.
And try to up your water intake, because you're going to be pretty dehydrated if you're on a lot of medicines, Lasix, and all this other stuff. Lots of caffeine, everything that's like a diuretic that's flushing you out, and your hair is just getting the remnants of what your other vital organs took. But that's my soapbox. That's it. I'm going to be quiet now. This was really fun. I really enjoyed it. I hope you have me back. Yeah, I hope to come back.
You know, usually I like to have guests come back and do like lives so that
Oh, yeah.
the you know, community can interact. So that might make a lot more
Yeah,
sense where they can kind of ask questions and interact live. So,
I'll do that. That'll be good.
all right, awesome. Well, once again, thank you. And if you all enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit the thumbs up button. If you want to see more videos like this, don't forget to subscribe. I'm always throwing curveballs y'all way. You know, you never know what guests we're going to have on the show. And as always, the application of knowledge is power. And I'll see you all next time.
Bye, everybody.